What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, reunited once again with Tim Legler, who enjoyed a nice little December vacation. But good to have you back, Legs. How you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm good. Big night in the league. A lot of it's one of those nights that you get about 4 or 5 of the year. No other word except this was a wild night in the NBA with some of these finishes, some upsets, big comebacks, officiating playing a huge part in the determination of some of these games. So we had a lot on last night. Our playing to rather than do a really long dive on any one of these, we're going to touch on several games because there's some interesting topics, particularly the way some of these games ended.
I mean, that's basically it. We always talk like, just so you guys see behind the curtain how we plan the show, we ask like, what games are we going to watch? We try to wait. Maybe there's 1 or 2 good ones and we'll hone in on the good games. But to your point, last night was like 8 good games. So instead tonight, and also, you know, there was a break in the action. This tonight felt like the restart of the season. So there were a lot of teams, and it gives us a chance to bounce around the league and talk about a bunch of different games. So I think we have 5 of them we're going to go over in some capacity today. But I'm going to start by asking you this. You took a week off, but some stuff have happened over the last week, including the Knicks winning the NBA Cup. What's caught your attention over the last week and a half or so, Legs, around the association?
I think for me, the way the Cup played out, how that ended, you had a team in San Antonio that really opened some eyes with what they were able to get in. And I think, I know, I kind of had to reevaluate how good I thought they would be after about 15 games. Now you get Wemby back. They're so impressive the way they've played. So now you get to take it on this San Antonio Spurs. Then that was very, very important for them. And I also think, in general, the way I'm looking at the Knicks right now, the Eastern Conference, we all thought there's a path there for a couple going into the season. It's about very much open in the Eastern Conference. And the Knicks, to me, as good as Detroit has been, the Knicks, with the way they've played lately, with what they just did in the Cup, they win another game last night where Brunson has to hit a huge late again. The Knicks, for me, have been kind of the story in my mind here over the last week or so, in looking at how I view them and how I view their legitimate opportunity to can they get conference finals or can they get to the finals? But it's like, can they actually contend for a championship this year? The Knicks, to me, have become the story of the Eastern Conference. They've grabbed onto it right now. Detroit has been very, very, but up talent and having Brunson to close games, they've opened my eyes a lot, Adam, over what I've been watching out of that team, particularly the last few weeks.
It really is one of the stories, and they have the longest win streak in the NBA. Tonight pushed it to 7 games. I know officially it'll only count as 6 because for some reason that win in the Cup, the championship game, doesn't count. So a little bit of an abnormality. But yeah, they're on a run right now, and they're playing some great basketball. They got a win. We're not talking about them tonight, but they edged out a win, 114-113, which, by the way, both teams, San Antonio gets the win. Now they had the Wizards at home, so it wasn't exactly the greatest win, and the Pacers likewise, but both teams got a win coming out of it, which I kind of feel is a big deal. They just played a championship game 48 hours ago, Legs, and then they had to come. That's got to be an impossible task to go from the NBA Cup championship game in Vegas. You probably celebrate in Vegas, and then it's get on a plane and go play what would feel, I imagine, like a much more meaningless game.
And by the way, can I say first, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this. I don't know if you discussed this um, without me. I applaud the Knicks' decision to not hang a banner for this. I think I like it. I support it. And I know some people are saying, wait a second, they haven't won anything in 50 years. Hang something up in there. I don't know. I guess you got to commemorate it some way. I don't know how, but I don't
Right.
think it's a banner, man. I don't. Not when you, especially when you really think you're playing for something much, much bigger. And typically the teams that are going to win this, that's kind of the category they're in. Like you're not going to see a team that's, a lottery team that happened to go 2-1 or 3-0 in their pool, and then they advance through and then they win the thing and they end up winning 24 games. These teams typically are playing for something more. That because you have to, first of all, you have to go 2-1, 3-0 in your pool. Then you've got to
Yep.
win a couple games, and right. So you got to be a team that's a really good team that's in the mix. Now it hasn't necessarily worked out for teams that have won the cup in terms of how they
So
ended their
far.
season, right? So far, but the Knicks are playing for something a lot bigger. And so I applaud that, first of all. Let's just say that. But you're right. Regardless of the importance of how they view it, clearly it meant a lot to them. You can tell by their reaction. I like the fact that, we put that to bed. We're playing for something bigger. And you're right, Adam, regardless. That's a lot of emotion went into that. A weird travel situation with where you had to go play those last couple of games. Like everything's a little bit off. And you turn right back around and you've got to go now. I know Pacers are having a really, really bad season because of their Tyrese Halliburton being down. It's a 6-21 team. I get it. It's not huge win, but the way they had to win the game, to me, very impressive. To get that done late, to come back in that game, and then Brunson hit the dagger shot. So I agree with you. That's not an easy thing to do, no matter who you're playing with what they just went through. So I think it's a all in all, just all nothing but positivity right now about the New York Knicks.
Winning team, man, with winning culture right now. And you're right. Now it becomes a lot more interesting in that Eastern Conference. And we'll also talk about, the Pistons dropping a game. So not only is it, we're talking about them as contenders, they're now right there within striking distance for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which I think is exciting and creates some intrigue. So yeah, big deal for that. Big deal for them. I disagree with you about the banner thing. The only thing I'll say is we shouldn't call it a banner. I do think that they should hang something up. It shouldn't be this big thing that says champions or whatever. I just think every organization that wins one has to put up the cup banner, and then you just add a little star to it or the year that you won or something like that. So it's not you win 6 NBA cups and you got 6 banners in your arena. You can't have that. You just have one and you add a little notch to it every time you win it. That's
I'm
what I
okay.
think.
I'm okay with that, Adam. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think what I'm saying is, if you look at the other, like the Lakers hung one, right? Who
I
else?
know
Like
it's
the
like too
Bucks,
big.
they
Yeah.
hung one. It looks like a championship banner. That's really what I meant. I'm not
Nope.
saying you don't
Yep.
commemorate it in any way, but it has to be significantly different from the
Yeah.
championship banners that are hanging in Madison
So
Square
true.
Garden. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It can't look up there and they're the exact same size. And the only thing that's different is like what's written on there. No, it's got to be something that looks completely different from what a championship banner would be. That's really what I meant by that. I'm not saying you don't
Yeah.
hang anything, but you don't just act like this is the same as if it's ring night and you're raising something up there. That's all I'm saying.
When the Nuggets won the championship, they raised the banner on opening night for the championship. And that thing took like 10 minutes to go up. They're playing songs. It's emotional. Everybody's watching it. It was this big deal. You can't do that. You can't have the 10 minutes while it goes in the rafter for the NBA Cup, Cup championship. But you know what? Congrats to the Knicks. It's a cool thing. They got it done. Let's go to our games now. And I'm going to start with the Atlanta Hawks and the return of Trae Young. Spoiled by what is quickly becoming one of the funnest stories of the season, this Charlotte Hornets team that has their young guard trio that all showed out last night. LaMelo Ball makes his return as well. 28 points, 4 rebounds, 13 assists, 87.5% true shooting. Con Knipple, 28 points. Brandon Miller, 26 points. Charlotte could not miss from 3. They shot 49% on 49 attempts. And they got the win, spoiling Trae Young's return. So which side of this to you is more exciting? This young trio of the Charlotte Hornets that's all has something to be excited about, or Atlanta dropping as soon as a Trae Young returns?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to read too much into it and put this on Trae Young. He only played 20 minutes. He was on a minutes restriction. He wasn't on the floor at all to close the game. So
No.
I'm not going to put that on him. I know that there's going to be topic around that as you go forward with the Hawks, particularly
Right.
with what Jalen Johnson has done to a game. And I definitely want to talk about him in a minute. But I guess we'll start with Charlotte. You and I have both said this. I know for me, this is my guilty pleasure bad team because they're fun, man. They're fun.
Yeah.
And when you see all three of those guys out there together, and by the way, like as a fourth guy, just like in terms of talent, you could do a lot worse than a Miles Bridges. Like that
Yeah.
guy's
He
got a
can do
lot of
everything.
talent, right? But those other three guys, like Brandon Miller, is so smooth. LaMelo Ball is one of the most entertaining players in the NBA, and then you got this incredible start to his career that Kankanipoulos had. Yeah, it was impressive, man. This was a really fun, free-flowing game. Now, as opposed to some of the other games we're going to talk about here in a minute, I will say this. That was some of the softest defense I've seen played by teams all year. There was not a lot of physicality. There was mental breakdowns, losing guys, that are shooters, losing them completely, losing track of where they were. There was not a lot of contact on drives. This was a free-flowing, fun, offensive game where guys could put their talent on display, and it was all on display. The guys for the Hornets, and then, of course, Jalen Johnson, who is just what this guy is doing and as effortless as he makes it look is really kind of scary to think of where this guy's game is going if he's this good, this young, and it looks that easy. Like at no point does he look like he's going full speed, and he does whatever he wants offensively. So the combination of all of this young talent on the floor, man, that made this a marquee game to watch in terms of just fun factor. A lot of fun, very entertaining. And the Hornets gave you a little glimpse of what it looks like when all their guys are out there.
Since you talked about Jalen Johnson, I'll go there. I'll start with it. But 43 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. I saw this Jokic's like sophomore season where he got a triple double, and then it just felt like he was starting to flirt with a triple double every single night. Jalen Johnson 2 weeks ago had like 2 career triple doubles. All of a sudden now it's becoming routine. I know he missed it by 1 assist last night, but it almost feels like he's an every night triple double threat. And that might be the case going forward because all of the points, rebounds, and assists come naturally to him. It's not like he has to chase, and he did something spectacular tonight, and that's why he did it. The spectacular is when those numbers get up big, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, 40 points, whatever it is. But the just the all-around game comes easy to him. And my favorite thing about his game, well, my favorite thing is just his feel for the passing and how he reads the court. But my second favorite thing about him is that he is super athletic, and he seems to jump in slow motion. He's really good on the left side of the basket at the rim, where he'll kind of like slow down, and he elevates and hangs in the rim and shoots the ball like it's a helium balloon, where he just like floats it at the rim, and the defender will jump and come down while he hangs there, and then just like softly put it on the rim. It's the combination of super athleticism but smoothness that is very, very rare, and it comes naturally to him.
It's actually to the point last night I was watching this guy and I'm saying he's almost at the point that it looks so easy that it's misleading
Yep.
because it almost looks like it's he's not intense enough.
Right.
Right? Like
Yep.
like some of these guys are out there and like it
So
takes
true.
every ounce they have and they're great players and they put up big numbers, but it's obvious that like they're exerting themselves to such an extent. This guy's not exerting himself at all. And he's putting up these kinds of numbers. It's so easy. So I'm gonna kind of I guess not go that road with him when I think about how I view him as a player because yeah, that's a big thing with me, man. Like the intensity that you need to play with and the emotion. He's not that. He's effortless, easy, graceful, silky smooth. I think he does want to win. He looks like he wants to win.
Oh, no
He's
question.
just that talented, man. He's that talented. I was looking it up last night because I was watching him last night, and you know who he reminded me of last night. I'm not saying this is like every night, but last night I felt like I was watching a really good version of Kevin Durant. That's what it felt like to me. Now I know he's not quite as long as Kevin Durant, and
Yeah.
that's a big name to throw out there. I get it, but I just was curious, Adam, so I wanted to look it up to remind me. Like Kevin Durant at 24 years old, and Jalen Johnson turned 24 last night. It was his birthday, and he dropped 43, almost has another triple-double. Kevin Durant at the same age was like 28 points a game, 7 and 5 on 50% shooting.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson here just turning 24, so he's got a whole year of being 24 still. He's 24, 10 and a half rebounds, over 8 assists, 51% from the field, 39 from the three. And he reminded me of him last night. Now, maybe not quite as flashy with the handle. KD was so good with the quick crossover to go by you or to pull up. Yeah. He's more, he likes to spin on you and get you on his back, and then he shoots this shot like you're talking about where he just jumps and hangs until you drop, and then he releases the ball. He was so impressive last night. The other thing that he's got in his arsenal, very few guys have, he shoots the ball off the glass going toward the rim on either side of the floor from like 10, 12 feet. He jumps, glides, and uses the glass while he's drifting on both sides of the lane. And it's a really difficult shot to shoot with the right amount of touch. And he probably made 4 or 5 bank shots in that regard last night. And I've seen him many nights do that. So it's clearly something he loves to do. I think it's improved his efficiency from that area of the floor. And the guy is an absolute load to try to figure out what you're going to do to slow him down, man. He is just, I don't know. He was blowing my mind a little bit last night with how easy he was making that look.
That drifting you're talking about, that's exactly the thing I'm talking about with the floating in the air. Is he kind of drifts, the defender jumps and comes down and goes past him, and then he finishes it. And you're right, he is good off of the glass. He's 24 years old, and he's not one of those guys where we talk about the future of the league and we did future MVPs and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know that we know. Some guys, you know what their ceiling is. You can see it. You imagine the perfect version of it. Jalen Johnson's a guy that it's entirely possible that later on this season or next year, we're talking about him in some pretty wild conversations, because most guys are not, most of the great players we're talking about cannot get it done from 3 different categories: points, rebounds, and assists the way he can. And oh, by the way, a pretty good defender as well. But we got to talk about the Charlotte Hornets though. So LaMelo Ball, this was brought to us by All NBA Stats and Research, but LaMelo, Nickeil, Miller are something of a big 3 when you talk about prospects. Now they have Kalkbrenner too. They have some young guys, Salon. There's other guys on here, but if we just isolate it, those 3 guys are like the top prospects they have. They've played together now for 101 minutes and have a 130 offensive rating. That 101 minutes isn't enough for us to say anything about it, but that is like an insanely efficient offense. And it makes sense. Nickeil is a knockdown shooter. That guy is unbelievable, and he can do stuff off the ball. Brandon Miller's an offensive talent, and then LaMelo Ball just makes everything like he's like a multiplier. Those 3 guys offensively are actually pretty intriguing when you see them together on the court, in my opinion.
They are, and they had 39 assists on 49 made baskets.
That's crazy.
Game. It's an insane number, and it wasn't like the kind where you throw it ahead to a guy in the break and he takes 3 dribbles and dunks it and he gets an assist. These were ones that were all off of like action, where guys are coming off dribble handoffs hard, in the open floor hard, making the extra pass on a swing out and a kick, finding that next guy. So the ball was hopping too. It wasn't a lot of pounding. It was guys being very active with their body movements off the ball to put them in position. When they catch the ball, they had a shot. LaMelo Ball, look, he's got that kind of vision and talent and flair for getting it to you. So I say he's like one of the most entertaining guys in the league. And so now you see when you pair him, and by the way, he's got deep shooting ability, and he ended up icing the game in this game with a couple of deep threes, including the biggest shot of the night. But when you look at the strokes of Brandon Miller and Nickeil, these guys are pure shooters. And now you pair him with a guy like LaMelo, who wants to play fast and up tempo. He's kind of herky jerky with the way he puts pressure on you, breaks you down. He can make any pass in the building because he can throw it behind the back, over his head. He could throw a hook pass to the opposite side of the floor. When you got 2 shooters like that now around you, those assist numbers are going to be really high a lot of nights, particularly if they're playing against a defense. And like I said, this was not a defense that got physical with them at all. There was a lot of freedom of movement. And when you play Charlotte and you allow these guys to have freedom of movement, they're going to put up big numbers on you because there's a lot of skill level. that's out there and shooting ability on the tail end of these possessions, and they put it all on display.
There's been the rumors about LaMelo Ball and maybe the Hornets are growing tired. He hasn't been healthy enough to play a whole bunch for them to get a sample. But when I just watched what I saw from the game last night, I looked at it and said, sometimes you have to ride some murky waters and see, because those three guys, and look, I don't know if that's a recipe for defense. Like, what is the upside defensively of that trio? If that is the way you go to build your roster, there's questions there. But for a team that's in the state that they're in, I just look at it and say, that can be one of the most entertaining offenses that elevates you before you have to kind of pick and choose. And the three of them together actually fit. Offensively, that's tough to guard. And 24 3-pointers made last night on 49 attempts. This is the direction the league's going. More and more attempts. They have guys that can do that. So if you just extrapolate this and say, what does the league look like 2-3 years from now? Wouldn't be surprised if 20 plus 3-pointers is a little bit more common than it is now. And that's a trio that I wouldn't be surprised if they had a bunch of these games in them.
And they were on pace, like midway through the third quarter, they were on pace for a 30 made 3 night. They were going to possibly break a record, and they cooled off for a little bit. And then LaMelo had a couple big ones late, and they get to 24 makes. But they, at one point, you're thinking, man, they're going to make 33s tonight. The way they're going, look, they play fast. They get the ball off the rim. They've got 4 different guys that can run the floor. And then you got Kalkbrenner, who, if he catches anything around the rim, he'll finish it. He's a nice young player, good rim protector, a very good piece for what these guys do, because he's just going to screen dive, get on the glass. If he gets an early steal, they'll throw it ahead to him, but he's not going to get a ton of touches. He only took 5 shots in this game in 27 minutes. So it's really about those other 4 guys. We mentioned the 3, and then you got Bridges. Bridges is a small forward for all intents and purposes. So you got 4 guys out there that really play the 3, 2, or 1. And so they play fast, free. They space you out at early transition. They force you to match up and communicate well early, or they're going to get a good shot because they're finding each other. They got trust and they got a great skill. So look, we're raving a lot about some talent on a team that's 9-18. Let's keep it all in perspective. But because they're not healthy. They haven't been healthy. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get a sustained run of health now that they've added Nickeil to the mix, right, with what they already have, because that shooting is so important to what these other guys do. Let's see now over the next 10 games, if all these guys can play, like maybe they start to put together something that's a little bit more consistent.
My last take on this game, and then we'll keep it moving. But with Atlanta, one of the questions I have, I have 2 guys on this team that are my guys, Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I love both guys, but part of me wonders if the better Trae Young fit is Nickeil Alexander-Walker and not Dyson Daniels. And those 2 guys, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker together, they did some good stuff in the absence of Trae Young. But now that Trae is back, I almost wonder if Nickeil is the guy that's a better fit, Dyson the better guy to stagger in between. And that's a little bit strange. It's a little bit of a weird dynamic, but I'm not sure the Trae Dyson Daniels lineup is going to be the one I love as much as any other configuration.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's going to depend sometimes on the context of the game. I mean, you need Dyson Daniels on the floor sometimes to close games because you're going to need him to guard. Now, Nickeil Alexander-Walker can guard as well, but Dyson Daniels is a little bit different level because of his length. Sure. He can guard certain guys that not that Nickeil Alexander-Walker can't, but I think he can make it more difficult to get off clean shots against longer wings than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So I think that's going to be something probably night by night you're going to have to figure out. It's a shame Dyson Daniels still hasn't really figured out the shooting component. He had one of the worst open 3-point misses I've seen all season last night.
He hates to shoot.
It had to be 8 feet short. I mean, it was like it didn't even graze the bottom of the net on a wide open 3-point shot. And so that's a shame because obviously that's going to create a little bit of added value for him. As it is, he's a very good player, good cutter, great defender. But that component of being able to leave him to create extra traffic for Jalen Johnson and Trae Young, it is something that factors in when you play the Hawks. I know it would be for me if I was coaching against them. I would make sure that that's the guy that was left open on the perimeter as much as we could to make sure Jalen Johnson was seeing as many eyeballs as possible.
Let's move it to the next game, legs, because we got a lot to get to. The Mavs beat the Pistons 116 to 114. This was a good game. There was a lot of things going on, but the Cooper Flagg is where I want to start. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, plus a steal and 3 blocks. He scored 20 points in 6 of the last 8 games. And here come the Mavericks. The Mavericks all of a sudden a increasingly interesting team. This is a huge win for them. 11 and 17, so they have a lot of mountain to climb here to get back into things, but I am very impressed with some of the wins Dallas has racked up here over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that these people are over the Luka thing, right? I mean, I don't know that you ever get over that for some of those fans, but what you're seeing is the energy component to the building and around the team right now, and in large part because it's what's going on with Cooper Flagg right now and finding his consistent offense. He's still not shooting the ball very well from deep, but man, everywhere else on the floor, particularly like what he can do in the middle area of the floor, has been really impressive, to the point where this is the guy that's got the ball all the time in these close games. And he loves going left from the top. It's almost at the point, he did it so often in this game, in the fourth quarter, that in overtime, it almost is like, is that going to now become the book on him? He wants to get to his left hand, and he's going to shoot the ball with his left hand going that direction. And it's going to be floaters, runners. He shot a couple like off of one leg. It was almost like a sort of a mini hook that he's trying to shoot on as a runner off the glass. He didn't have a lot of great finishes going left, but man, does he like to get left. But then he can stop and make a mid-range pull-up 15-footer or some sort of a push shot inside of like 12 feet. It gives him that ability, Adam, to make a shot that's very important late without having to get all the way to the rim, because that is very difficult to do, and particularly if the game's being officiated like this one was. This looked like an alley fight. I mean, there was so much contact that was being let go from basically middle of the fourth quarter on throughout the rest of the game. You're not going to get to the rim and finish in that situation. So the fact that he's got another level of shot making, because the three isn't there for him right now, really consistently. You're not getting to the rim whenever you want. So can you score from 10 to 20 feet? And he has made a lot of shots this year that mattered in that area of the floor. And that's why I think the fan base is getting more and more excited. And now it's translating into winning games. And they still are waiting on Kyrie. So this is maybe happening a little bit sooner than people thought. They're starting to win, and it's creating an energy around this team because of how good he looks, how confident he is, and how versatile he is. And he affects the game on both ends of the floor.
You talk about going left. He had the last shot of regulation. And this is why these things are a big deal. They put the ball in his hands at the end of regulation and run a high screen for him. And he gets going to his left, as you were mentioning, and he gets a little pull up for a basket. The skill level for him is really starting to shine. That's why 6 of his last 8 games, he's 20 plus. He's starting to get a little bit of consistency, averaging 25 points per game over that stretch, and they've won 6 of 8. He is turning into a monster, to the player we kind of all thought, with just a lot of intensity, big strides, and now the confidence to put the ball in his hands and let him try to make something to save the game. And he delivered here. I think this team is good. I think the Mavericks are good. They've had a weird year, obviously some health issues, to start the year, playing a weird style. They've had to find their footing. But if you just told me we're restarting the season right now, who are the good teams? I would say, yeah, Dallas is good. They're in that conversation of those teams that will be fighting for a playoff spot at the end of the year. They're just carrying themselves out of a hole. Are you as impressed as I am with this run that they're on?
Yeah, I am. I'm impressed because, look, there was so much surrounding this team. After post trade, Cooper kind of trying to find himself early in the year, playing him at point guard right out of the gate, and they kind of switched up on that where he wasn't handling the ball as much because that wasn't really working. Anthony Davis gets hurt. You're waiting on Kyrie. It was just a mess. And so now they've flipped it, and their defense has kind of kept them afloat. Their offense is good enough right now to win games because their defense is keeping them in it. They had 15 block shots in this game, 15 block shots. And these aren't
crazy,
like,
man.
yeah, these aren't like tipped 3-point, tipped shots on 3-point shooters. These are all at the rim. These are like last line of defense. Where did that guy come from? You know, you've got Anthony Davis. He's always done it. But now you also got to deal with, Cooper Flagg at the small forward position is one of the best shot blockers and contesters in the league already because of his anticipation and his defensive instincts and how much he wants to affect that end. He's just involved all the time at the rim as a backline defender. You got Gafford out there. PJ Washington had 3 blocks in this game. So 15 blocks as a team. You think about it, these are all at the rim. The number of opportunities that are not there for you for the Pistons, you think you're getting points in the paint and you got nothing. You're going the other direction now. So, yes, I'm impressed with their defense. Cooper Flagg has found some consistency with his game offensively. Anthony Davis has been back and has stayed back. So, yeah, man, give them their love because they've been through a lot as an organization. That fan base has been through a lot. And now you're starting to see the early return. Some of these dividends are starting to be cashed in now. You're starting to get an idea of what the vision is for this team.
So now let's talk about the Detroit Pistons here because they lose this game in large part because of the thing that I think they most are vulnerable to, and that's three-point shooting. Now, Dallas was actually worse, 5 of 27. This was not a three-point heavy game, but 6 of 33 for the Detroit Pistons. That's 18%. And you get a lot of offers. 0 for 2, Tobias Harris. 0 for 5, Duncan Robinson. 0 for 2, Karis LeVert, Marcus Sasser, Ron Holland. That's a lot of offers, and then 2 of 9 from Cade Cunningham. That's probably the biggest concern I have for this Detroit team. They do so many things well, but scoring from behind the arc is going to be a big one. And that's just a box I don't think they're going to check with the roster they have.
No, and look, there's nights that Duncan Robinson helps out a lot. He only played 13 minutes in this game, did not have a 3-point shot. So, that he's gonna help you a lot of nights with that. But you look at they kind of turned it around a year ago with Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris. They brought those 3 guys in because the year before they were the worst 3-point shooting team in the league. They brought those guys in, and it gave them a lot more firepower. And lo and behold, wow, all of a sudden here, Pistons, team that lost almost 30 games in a row the year before, now they're like relevant, and they give the Knicks all they can handle in the first round because they added floor spacing. It was a big part of what they did. And now you look at this team, and it looks different. Malik Beasley's not there. Tim Hardaway Jr. is not there. You bring in Duncan Robinson. On the nights he gets it going, it certainly helps. And I think he actually creates other shots for other people when he gets rolling. He didn't in this game, but you're right, Adam. There's going to be nights. This is going to be a big reason why they lose games, that they do everything else well enough to win on a given night, and they don't get it done because of the differential at the 3-point line is hard to overcome in this league some nights. And this was one of those nights.
26 offensive rebounds, by the way, for the Detroit Pistons. So to your point, they do a lot of things really well. They have a lot of boxes checked. And this is the push and pull of when you enter the contention tier. And I think Detroit is in that. They're a little ahead of schedule, so they almost feel this sense of, but we don't need to do anything. But if you want to get over the hump, do you have a surplus of certain traits that you can afford to sacrifice to make up for a deficit you have in other traits? And I think they're a classic example of a team that has exactly that. Shooting is the one that they have a deficit for. So I want to see what they can do because they're so good to get out of the East. But you mentioned the physicality. It is, I will say, Legs, it's my least favorite thing about the game right now is you could turn on, we're going to talk about another game here in a second that had a crazy finish, but you could turn on a game right now where you feel like everything is being called, and you could turn on another game where it feels like nothing is going to get called. The league right now does have a wide variety between the most physical game that will happen on a given night and the least physical game. This one was the most physical.
This had the physical amount of physical contact and intensity that a playoff game would have. That's what it felt like to me. Of all of the games I looked at last night, and the ones we're talking about, and I also kind of browsed through some other games, this, to me, by far was the most physical game. And to the point where the whistle was kind of just put away at the end of the game. I mean, Cooper Flagg got absolutely mauled on a drive. It looked like it was going to be a very important play. Completely mauled, practically clothesline from behind, dragged to the ground, no call. They lose the ball. But then Durant on the end of the game, on an attempted putback, same thing. All kinds of contact up around his head, shoulder area. He can't even get his arms above his head to get the ball to the rim, and the game kind of ends. And look, I'm okay with a lot of that, to be honest with you. I don't mind watching physical games, but I think your point is the problem is like if you just flip around on League Pass and game to game, they can feel drastically different some nights what you're watching and how it's being officiated. And there's a lot of coaches right now that are really ticked off when these games end. I mean, guys are losing their minds because they're tight games and it's coming down to this one play and a whistle maybe can change the game. So you're seeing a lot of guys pretty upset. You certainly saw JB Bickerstaff really upset at the end of this game when the final horn blew. I'm okay with the physicality, but it was pretty stark in this game how different it was than, say, what I watched in the Charlotte-Atlanta game. A lot different. So, but look, give Dallas a lot of credit, man. They were able to gut it out, hold on, they continue their momentum.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, though, there's more games to get to. We're going to talk Pelicans Rockets, which had a wild finish. The Rockets stumbling a little bit. Suns Warriors, also a wild finish. And then Blazers Kings. I don't know if wild's the right word, but it was something. We'll get to all those on the other side. First, every Friday from 6 to 7:30, it's NBA Happy Hour on FanDuel, your pregame for the weekend. We're talking limited time specials you won't want to miss. Boosts, bonuses, surprises, all dropping in the app during Happy Hour. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app to see the week's specials. Then make your move before the shot clock expires at 7:30 Eastern. It's the perfect way to start your weekend. That's today, by the way. Happy Hour's today. A little basketball, little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, only on FanDuel, official sports book partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. It happened to me. I talk about this all the time, and it actually just happened to me. My favorite pair of navigators, I don't know where they are. I think they're at the DNVR office, but I'm not sure. But luckily, I've got Shady Ray. So if I can't find them here the next week or two, I'm going to have to hit them up because they've changed the game. They're sunglasses that are made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. But the best part is if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip. Just replacements, so you can wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, concerts, on a boat, wherever, or you can be like me, have no idea where you left your favorite pair, and just hit them up and they'll send you a replacement pair. They also make a great holiday gift, and they have every type of style you could want. They even have athletic eyewear like ski goggles. If you're going skiing for the holiday break, you can hop on Shady Rays right now and get a great pair of ski goggles. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA Show. Make sure you're subscribed. We're doing this 3 times a week. Got Tim Legler here. Let's move on now to one of my favorite teams in the NBA to watch. The Pelicans, they get the win 133-128 over the Houston Rockets. This one was the Houston Rockets snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. They had it in the bag, legs, but they lost a little focus. The Pelicans went on a run, and they got the win in overtime 133-128. What happened in this game?
Turnovers down the stretch by Houston, missed free throws, and then they had an impossible time guarding Sadiq Bey. I mean, let's face it. He went ballistic. It became unguardable for them. It made a bunch of incredibly difficult shots. But I felt like Houston didn't have a great identity or purpose offensively to close this game out. I just don't think they had any ball movement. They played stagnantly, whether it was going to be Durant at the top or he was getting blitzed a lot at half court, and they were forcing him to give it up and seeing who else could go make a play for Houston. And they had a difficult time navigating around that. And we talked going into the year about floor leadership for them. Hasn't been a huge issue because of how well Reed Shepherd has played. and they have enough options to kind of initiate their offense with three different guys. It was kind of a factor in this game, the way New Orleans got back in it, taking the ball out of Durant's hands near half court and forcing Houston to play some other way offensively. And they had a hard time. And they went away from Reed Sheppard in this game for basically the entire fourth quarter and everything down the stretch. You didn't see Reed Sheppard until the very end of the game. He had a couple good looks, but he'd been sitting there forever at that point. So I don't blame him for missing those two shots that could have tied the game. He'd been sitting there forever. Those are tough shots to make when you've been sitting.
I'll blame him. Hold on. I'll blame him. That's his job. Those shots were so good. Man. You are right. There, it is difficult. It's a challenge. But those two shots were big time, wide open shots.
And I didn't look it up to know how long exactly he was sitting there without playing in real time. Not just game minutes, but like real time sitting. I'm just telling you, it's tough. And like he didn't shy away from him. Both of them looked pretty good when he released them. It's just that's a difficult thing to do when you're typically a guy that's been on the floor a lot down the stretch, and now you're sitting over there for a long period of time, come in, misses them. But yeah, you're right. This was a game that's going to drive Ime Udoka and the coaching staff and their players nuts when they go watch the film of this game, because this game is in their hands against a team that's not playing for a whole lot this year. And you've got them down. Those are typically games that, contenders in this league are going to take care of. And they did not. And New Orleans flipped the script, and Houston not only couldn't operate offensively, they couldn't stop them when they had to have it. And some of it was really tough shot making, but some of it was like a relaxed state of mind, I thought, a little bit defensively by the Rockets.
And now the question for the Rockets, this is 2 in a row, and I'm glad you talked about Ime Udoka. This game's going to bug him. After they lost to Denver that game, he goes to the podium and he complains about, the officiating and he's frustrated. Like, I get it. It's a big game. They lost. There was some questionable calls down the stretch. Last night, he was jawing. I can't remember which player it was from the Pelicans roster he was jawing with. And I look at this and I go, the Rockets are off to a great start. They're on a little bit of a slide now, having lost 2 games in a row. And by the way, now it sets up a very interesting game at Denver. They just lost to Denver earlier this week. Now they're back in Denver, and they're 2 games behind Denver. So they were tied in the standings at the start of the week, and now they're 2 games behind, can become 3. But I just thought it was interesting that this is 2 games in a row where he has kind of been frustrated. As a coach, he's been frustrated. To me, I watch those things, and it's just, I file it away because I think, okay, the team's starting to hit adversity, and they seem extra frustrated through this little tiny bit of adversity.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Look, this is right now we're entering that part of the season where I think you start to really find out a lot more here over the next month. What you're really going to expect at the end of the season, because these teams are still kind of evolving in some ways, and I think that's the case for the Rockets. You kind of felt like they were playing at a certain level, and then you watch them some nights and you go, okay. And when you're comparing everything to Oklahoma City, some nights you go, that's not going to be good enough. And I think the way that they played in the fourth quarter of this game offensively, particularly for me, that's not going to be good enough against a team like OKC. And that, I guess, was my biggest takeaway from this game. This is not a game the Houston Rockets are supposed to lose, flat out.
Yeah.
And particularly when you get that kind of a lead, you got everybody playing. You've got to figure out a way to get the win, because even after they let the lead get away, they still had the ball in their hands to win the game on the last possession. Like, you still, even then, can salvage the night. And yeah, you'll get on the plane and you'll be frustrated and you didn't play as well as you can. But the win at least allows you to feel a little bit better when you get on that plane and you go on to the next city. When you lose in this fashion, man, that really kind of sticks with you a little bit, because you've got to close the deal against a team like New Orleans when you get a double-digit lead.
Yeah. The New Orleans Pelicans, by the way, I caught them early on in the season. They came to Denver like game number 5. It was so clear Willie Green was going to be fired. They were frustrated. This looked like a team that was having no fun and had maybe quit on their season. They look like a team that's having fun right now. Like, there's a joyfulness to what's going on with them. And I thought, obviously, Derek Queen kind of has that personality. He plays with the little flair. Sadiq Bey had it rolling last night, as you mentioned. But Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, I saw those guys just look like they wanted to be anywhere else in the world early on in the year. But even they seem to have a little pep in their step right now. I mean, Pelicans are 6 and what is the record? 6-22. Obviously it's a throwaway season. But I feel like the culture, there's a little excitement for at least some of the newness of what's going on there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, I think Queen has given them a nice feeling about the guy that they picked and that they got that right because he looks like he's going to be a really good player in this league for a long time. And particularly the way that he plays, it just lends itself to having success in this league because he's so patient with what he's doing and he enables him to process everything. He's not moving too quickly. And if he's already doing that as a rookie, imagine what he's going to be looking like 2-3 years from now. I think that's generated a lot of excitement around this team. Zion played in this game. That's always going to create a little bit more energy in the building when Zion's on the floor because you don't know really how long that's going to last. So that gave him a little bit of juice as well. The Rockets are going to get people in the building as a road team. So the
Yeah.
energy was tremendous in this building. Like they're going to generate that because of Durant, because of what they're playing for. They bring that level of excitement into the building as a road team. So that's going to be there. Now, if you can just get yourself in a position in the fourth quarter to win the game, you're going to see an environment like you saw last night. Those people, that did not look like, from a crowd perspective, that's a 6-win team. That looked like a team playing for something based on the way the crowd was reacting and the energy in the building. There's a lot of teams around this league that have fewer than 10 wins right now that you're not going to see that type of energy. So I give them credit for that as well because it's been a rough start to the year.
When you're 16-8, I don't think you can have a must-win game in December. I just don't think things are too, there's too much season to play. But they've lost 2 in a row, and they've lost 2 out of 2 to Denver right now with two more to play. If Denver gets the win on Saturday, they will have the home court, the tiebreaker for home court, which could become a story. And they would build a 3-game lead over the Houston Rockets and be 3-0 on the season against them. I kind of feel like tomorrow night's matchup in Denver between Houston and Denver is as close to a must win as you could have for a team here. I think they have to stop the bleeding. They have to close the gap because if they lose that one, they'll wake up on Sunday just 1 game ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves for the 6th seed when they were just the 2 seed earlier in the week.
Listen, I agree. And right now, these heavyweight fights from teams that you think are on the short list to maybe be there at the end, there's not that many of those that take place. This is an important game for both teams. Totally agree. Probably more important even for Houston than Denver.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Speaking of Denver, real quick, we're not going to talk about their game, but last night, Legs, I don't know if you caught any portion of this. Last night was one of those like ho-hum games. Eastern Conference is here. Magic are banged up. Denver gets a win, 126-115. It wasn't that great of a game, but the second quarter, Denver had a 35-point run in 6 minutes. In 6 minutes, they went from down 14 to up 14, and it happened in the blink of the eye. Denver, if you look at their win profile, 9-1 now against teams over 500. They've dropped some silly ones, but the difference between Denver this year and the previous couple ones is their best, which you don't see every night, and so even on good nights you only see it for a little bit. But their best, it's offensively, is almost like the death lineup for the Warriors, where they just seem like they score 20 straight possessions in a row. They did that in the second quarter of this game, and it was overwhelming. And so just kind of your thoughts on that. Denver, best offense in NBA history at the moment by a wide margin, and they have these little runs in them.
Yeah, their offense can be absolutely devastating to try to guard. And it's going to revolve around Jokic, but they get a flow to their certain lineups that they have with this team in certain stretches of games that they become impossible to guard. I didn't see this game. I was kind of going over all the notes on it, and I saw the run that you were talking about. And I feel like I've watched them for stretches this year, maybe not that significant, 35 points basically in 6 minutes. But there's been stretches of 4 or 5 minutes of games this year when I've watched the Nuggets when they string together, 8-10 straight makes like it's nothing. And it's really kind of eye-opening, like how easy it becomes for them to score. So, and this is a good team. Orlando has sort of flipped their season by getting back to their root cause of what they are defensively, because they were not that at the beginning of the year. They had injuries at the beginning of the year, but they weren't playing the type of defense they did last year. They got back to that, became a top 5 defense again, and Denver has no trouble getting to 126 on them. That's impressive, whether Franz Wagner's playing or not.
And Jamal Murray, in my opinion, is a lock to be an all-star this year. This is by far his best season. I saw somebody put in the chat, it's criminal that he hasn't been an all-star yet. I disagree. I don't think he has performed like an all-star yet in the regular season. He's done it in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he hasn't. This year, he is unbelievable offensively. This is by far his best season, and he absolutely deserves to be it this year. Let's go to the Suns Warriors. The Suns get the win 99-98. Super close game. Jimmy Butler put up some numbers, 31-3-3. Steph Curry did not, 15-9-7, just 2 of 9 from the three-point line. But the Phoenix Suns get another big win, and they won this one, by the way, at the foul line. Who was it that hit the shot? It was Goodwin. Goodwin, who hit the key shot to put him over the hump. Missed the first one. Did you see this? Game's tied. He has to go to the line to win the game, two free throws. And the first one wasn't just a miss. It was a horrible miss, which I imagine put pressure on him.
And it came right after. So Jimmy Butler hits an unlikely three that ties it. And then you get the go-ahead bucket by Booker. And then 2 free throws by Curry, which he was killing him. So because that was an easy finger roll that he missed. It would have been an and one. It would have put them up one. Maybe it's a different outcome. Instead, the 2 free throws tie it, which sets up the Goodwin play, which was on a rebound. And it was a foul. I mean, you had all kinds of contact when that ball came off the front of the rim. And Goodwin the ball came right to him. It hit the rim, came straight down into the lane where he was standing. Gary Payton sort of draped on him, trying to box him out. He immediately tried to get it up to the rim. Very smart heads-up play. He missed the first one badly. And did you see Curry? Curry, he missed it, and Curry kind of walked down like in the lane. It was like clapping, and he like flexed.
He does this
and then he started laughing. He started laughing because he knew he was one of those. It was almost like WWE. Steph Curry, like it was all for the crowd entertainment. And Goodwin makes the second. Warriors no timeouts. They have to throw a length to the court pass, try to get a shot off. They don't. Another brutal, tough, last 30 seconds of the game lost for Golden State, man. They have had a number of these. They're not winning the games that we're accustomed to them winning in the Steph Curry era that are tight late. They're not winning those games right now. And they're frustrated, and this season has not gone the way they expected at all. But I will say this. I'm going to give Devin Booker a lot of credit, man. He's another guy. Like, he's going to be in that all-star conversation as well with Jamal Murray. And the Suns have impressed me with how hard they're playing. Devin Booker didn't do a whole lot in this game offensively until they had to have it. And then it was bucket after bucket after bucket. And a lot of it I thought was Golden State allowing him to go to his right hand for his pull-up jumper, which is where he wants to go. And they didn't really force him left at all. He went right, pull-up, mid-range 3 times in the last 6 minutes of the game probably. He's still, man, to me, one of the smoothest scorers when he gets going.
Oh, totally.
That we have in this league. It's just so it's just so beautiful when he jumps. His release is perfect every single time. He's a great mid-range jump shooter, and that's important late in games. And he did it again in this game and had the biggest shots for them down the stretch prior to the Goodwin free throw.
He's super smooth. And what's funny, man, he's shooting 30% from 3 this year. I think I saw a stat the other day. It might have been from our account, which, by the way, you should be following the All-NBA account on Twitter, on social media. It's such a good account. There's so many great graphics and stats and different video clips that go out. It's a must-follow account. But I saw this the other day where he is among the worst shooters this year on wide-open threes. And of course, we know this is an anomaly. It's just a little bit of a slump that he's in. He is playing well in other facets, but it gives me hope that the Suns team is actually a little bit better than what, they're 15-12. They've been one of the surprise stories. They're on a little bit of a lull, 4-6 in their last 10, but they're one of the surprise stories. And it makes me think, you haven't had Jalen Green. He hopes to return. The Suns said later on this month was they go on a road trip. They hope to have him back. And then Devin Booker hasn't quite been hitting the shots at the level, but meanwhile, Legs, this game puts them now 3 games or 2.5, but 3 games in the loss column up on Golden State. It was kind of a sneaky big game for Golden State to win, and they couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, agreed. There were some ramifications going in. These teams are going to be in that mix, it looks like, all year. So these games really matter. And they're so early in the season, you don't think about it as much. But this was a big game for them. They pulled it off. Another guy I want to talk about too. Dylan Brooks had just incomprehensible foul on Steph Curry. Like, I don't know what that was. If you didn't see the game, take a look at toward the end of the game. Steph Curry pulls up for a three in the right corner. Dillon Brooks runs out. He contests it and doesn't really touch him. He kind of swipes at it in a contest, but then he kind of reloads and basically just punches Steph Curry in the sternum just for no reason. He just drills him in the chest. Curry goes to the ground. He wasn't even selling it, man. He was down. I think he was having a hard time getting his wind.
I think he was selling it, which is what he should have done. But you might be right.
Man,
but I think
that hurt more than you think it did. That's all I'm going to say.
It was a punch, so yeah.
Dillon Brooks is a strong dude, and Steph Curry's. There's not a lot of meat on Steph Curry, man. The dude's true. Like less than 200 pounds. He caught him right in the solar plexus, and he went down. I personally didn't think he was selling it. Now he gets the flagrant one. It ended up looked like at the time was going to be potentially a game costing play. It didn't end up costing him the game. Look, and he had another great game offensively. I didn't know Dillon Brooks could get to this place he's at offensively right now. But he played very well for them, but had boneheaded play again. He seems to find himself in the midst of these plays for no reason. And then I also want to give a shout out to Colin Gillespie, continues it. And it wasn't just offensively in this game. He made 3 defensive plays in the last 6 minutes of the game with just heads up anticipation, coming up with steals to disrupt their offense that were just so important, and then getting the extra possessions they needed to close this out. So a big mid-December game between two teams that are going to be sort of in that play-in-ish mode, right? They're going to be around there, and Phoenix gets it done, man. And they have been one of the pleasant surprise stories in the NBA for me this year.
And they're just actually good. It doesn't feel like, they're just having this kind of run or whatever. They have guys that know how to play. And, Ishbia kind of went to war with people, including Bill Simmons, over the summer saying, hey, man, you guys are getting us wrong. We're not tearing everything down. We're a competitive team. And I thought it was ridiculous. I thought, oh, my God, this is going to age horribly. But you know what? Credit to him. He knew what he was doing, apparently, because this team is building a culture, 15-12, striking distance of the 6th seed, and now a little distance between them and the Warriors, which is just incredible this deep into the season. The last one we're going to talk about, Blazers-Kings, 134-133. And why was it that score? How did they pull this one off? Well, I'll let you explain, Legs. Very controversial final play.
Very. So you get a situation where the DeMar DeRozan hits a jumper, very difficult shot to go up one, I believe. It looks like they're going to win the game. Portland inbounds the ball, less than 4 seconds to go. Denny Avdia starts coming up the right side of the floor. He's going to take a desperation heave. He's kind of sandwiched between a couple of defenders, Russell Westbrook being one of them. It looked to me live like Westbrook is just giving ground the entire way, running alongside of him. And Avdia sort of jumps, lunges, throws it up at the rim, misses it. Kings run onto the floor. They celebrate this big comeback win on the road, big win for them. And then all of a sudden everybody freezes because they didn't realize there was a whistle. There was a whistle. So tight to the horn, they had to go over and look to see if it even occurred before the final horn. Now, a couple things about this, Adam. First of all, I thought it was a terrible call. I thought Russell Westbrook was retreating. Avdia took his body into Westbrook as they are both coming up the floor, running side by side, full steam. I thought Westbrook was giving appropriate ground. He didn't reach in with his hands at all. He was just backing up. There was a little contact on Avdia's shoulder and arm area as he started to jump. Did not look like a foul to me whatsoever. Now, Avdia, I think he's going to be an all-star this year. Maybe he got the benefit of the doubt on that right there. It cost them a game because they go and now they get the free throws. They win the game. Really, really tough whistle in that spot. And I don't even think it's one of those ones where you go, hey, at that stage in the game. I don't know if that's a foul at any time in the game. What I watched, the amount of contact on that play. I just didn't see it. And here's the tell. Watch Avdia after he releases the ball gets to the rim, he misses it, the horn goes off. Watch his reaction. He doesn't even turn to the official. He kind of hangs his head like, oh, man, that's a tough loss. And then he finds out he's going to the line for free throws. So listen, if the player, and you talk about in an era when every player gets fouled on every drive, if you're seeing a player that didn't whip his head around and immediately start demonstratively screaming for a call, that's pretty much all you need to know about the amount of contact on that play.
It's kind of silly, man. It's so frustrating. I hate these fouls where the defense is retreating but not fast enough, because that's part of it, right? Some of these ones is a player will get you on their hip and you're trying not to foul and they'll bump into you while you're sliding your feet, and I hate it. And that was the ultimate expression of it because it literally determined the game. I'm with you. I thought it was a
Hey,
bad call.
can I mention one more thing about this game? Stood out to me.
Yeah.
So it's 132, 126. So Portland's got the game like in hand. It's 132, 126 with 24 seconds left in the game. And that's how you going to lose. DeMar DeRozan makes an incredible three-point shot, like spins, fade away. So now it's a three-point game. Come down the floor, they foul Klingon. Klingon misses 2 free throws. So now here's Sacramento, 17 seconds to go, down 3, coming up the floor, and I totally disagreed with this strategy, and I thought it was going to cost them the game. They decide to foul with 17 and a half seconds left in the game, up 3.
Yeah.
And you give, to me, that's way too much time.
Yeah.
To start playing that game, because you're basically now, with DeRozan had the ball, they fouled him. So he's going to go to the line. It's going to be a 1-point game. Guys, money in those situations from the line. You've now made it a 1-point game with 17 seconds to go. Like, to me, with that much time, I don't understand that strategy at all. They took the foul. Sacramento ends up taking the lead, but they can't close it out because of this whistle at the end of the game. So that's just one thing that I wanted to mention to you, man. Like, we talk about the fouling up 3 all the time late in games. And for me, that is very much predicated on the amount of time left in the game. 17 and a half seconds with a 3-point lead is an eternity. There is so much that's going to happen without you making it a 1-point game by your decision to foul him. So I just wanted to point that out. I totally disagreed with the strategy right there.
Fouling up 3 is annoying to begin with. We actually did an episode on this earlier in the week, me and Jason Tim, because there's been too many games that were ruined by it over this last week. But 17 seconds to your point is too dumb. That's way too early. And if you do, even if it works, legs, and you foul up 3 with 17 seconds left, you're going to have to do that. If that's your strategy, the game's going to take a half hour to close, because you can stretch a game out for 30 minutes if you're going to be doing that strategy, and nobody wants that. Plus, it's dumb. To your point. All right, let's wrap up today's show by going to our FanDuels of the night. This is presented by FanDuel. Remember, when you sign up, use that promo code ALLNBA. Legs, some good games. The NBA, doesn't it feel to you like the NBA is back after a long break? It feels like we're finally having all these games again.
Yeah, it does, especially for me, because I've been off as far as calling games. So, like, I can't wait to get back to my Christmas Day game. So it's around the corner for me. So I'm getting excited about that. It does feel like it. And Christmas Day is going to be an amazing day. Some of those games, if you get some good finishes on Christmas Day with some of those matchups, I know we're going head-to-head with the NFL, which is not ideal for the NBA. You got NFL games that day. But some of the matchups, man, are going to be incredible. Leading into that, it almost feels like that's a huge, almost like coming out day for the NBA after the first couple of weeks of the season when it's all new. And then it's all NFL, college basketball starts up, NFL, college football. Christmas Day is big. It's next week, and then, man, here we go. It's going to be.
We were so close.
I'm as excited. I'm as excited for the culmination in the second half of this NBA season, I think, as any since I've been at ESPN.
Well, look at these games tonight. Heat Celtics, that's a good game. 76ers Knicks, that's a good game. Spurs Hawks, that's a good game. Bulls Cavs, somehow also a good game. And then Thunder Timberwolves, great game. That's the one I think I'm most locked into, Thunder Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think so as well. Those are two teams that have battled quite a bit the last couple of years. We have not talked much about Minnesota this year at all because of the additions that Denver made, what Houston did in the offseason, and obviously with Oklahoma City's start to the season. Minnesota has been to 2 straight conference finals. They have not been talked about much at all this year. This would be an opportunity because, as I said to you last week, when the Thunder now are even trailing in the second half, it becomes an event. People are getting alerts sent to their phone now, like that the Thunder are trailing in the second half. So taking them down, it's just like, and I played against those Bulls teams that won 72 games, 72-10, played against those teams. It felt the same way. It's a massive, monumental event if you can take them down. For Minnesota, who has not been talked about despite being on the precipice of the finals 2 years in a row, this could be a really significant win for them and get them a little bit more in the public consciousness again.
I'll go even further. They win this game, they will be in that conversation. All of a sudden, you get elevated. I mean, look what happened. San Antonio beat Oklahoma City. They got elevated now to, hey, well, what actually is their ceiling? So I'm locked into that game. When we go to Saturday, Rockets at Nuggets. We talked about this one. Huge game for the Rockets. Big game for Denver. Mavericks Sixers is a great game. Celtics Raptors. Pacers Pelicans evenly matched. Hornets at Pistons. So Hornets just got one big win. Can they make it 2 in a row? And then we got Suns Warriors, which is always great. And Lakers Clippers, probably not that great. But it feels like, Legs, I'm telling you, these are the 2 nights of the weekend coming up. The games are starting to get good. I feel like we had this pre-tournament schedule where the NBA almost packed a bunch of East versus West matchups, good versus bad matchups. And now we're starting to get a lot of exciting matchups more and more frequently.
You know what else we're seeing right now? The games I've been watching here over the last, week, 10 days, guys are out there for both teams. Yeah. Most of the guys that you really want to see that are the needle movers for these teams that change the game and change the entertainment value to watch. It feels like more often now I'm watching games where most, if not all, of those guys are on the floor. And that's why the finishes have been great. The entertainment value's been there. So it feels like maybe some of the stuff that goes on with guys the first, month and a half of the season, maybe they're starting to get past some of those injuries. And we're getting into the point now where you're seeing guys more often.
We got a couple super chats there. First one, Jay Money says, Adam snuck Franz back into his My Guys last pod, Legs. Man, somebody used a super chat to try to tattle on me. First of all, Franz is my guy. What do you mean snuck him in? He's always been my guy.
All right, so I think what we're going to do now is if you claim a guy and then he takes it, even at the time he's not on that level, if he takes it to that level, he's now no longer able to be claimed. So that's where we're going to go.
Graduated away. Like I had to
graduated away from because it's a very special collection of guys that we identify for that list.
All right. Well, he was my guy until he became so good. All right. What else we got here? Psycho Blue, he says the referees in WWE are less corrupt and more competent than the ones we got in the NBA because at least WWE stopped calling their refs by name. Stop being main characters, refs. Look, I think the refs are one thing. I think it more is just the rules of the game, man, require a lot of leeway for offensive players, and I think it just frustrates fans.
I will say this about officials, man, because I understand fans can get frustrated. Particularly, look, these comments that come in typically are fans of a certain team that maybe got the short end last night or the last game or whatever it may be. I'm going to tell you this, man. I think it's by far the hardest sport to officiate. Yeah. And I know this. I don't even like reffing games at my basketball camp with like 9 and 10-year-olds. Okay, because every single time you blow your whistle, somebody's mad. So, like the amount of athleticism, contact, skill, all of that stuff that goes into every trip up the floor, it's a very difficult thing to do. I understand some nights it's more frustrating than others. And when you think calls are just missed, like to me, the one at the end of the Sacramento-Portland game to call that on Westbrook, when I personally don't think there's a single person in that building, including the players and coaches from the two teams, that would have been upset by not calling that. That's when you're almost like, it's like you're going out of your way to inject yourself into an equation when it doesn't need to be there. Because, that to me is an absolute no call at the end of that game. And the players knew it. They were just as surprised as anybody that there was a whistle on that. So that's when you get a little bit more frustrated. But in general, I'm going to defend these guys. It's a really difficult thing to do. And I think it probably is harder than it's ever been.
You're just too gracious, Legs. People wanted you to go in on them just to say, hey, these bums.
I know.
These bums are all corrupt.
Real. Just keeping it real.
Just always keeping it real, man. All right. Well, it's good to have you back. We are going to be back on Monday next week, holiday week. So we'll have some shows next week around the holiday. And like I said, man, the league is getting good and some of these games are big. So we'll have no shortage of things to talk about. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, not just here on YouTube, but also on your podcast app, and throw us a like on the way out. We'll see you next week.
the mayor.